So I want to start us off with Donorgate, and I know this has been going on for a few weeks now, but every single day there seems to be a new update, a new twist in the story, which we have to keep you guys all updated on. So, to start off, we've got Keir Starmer pays back $6,000 cost of gifts, including his Taylor Swift tickets. Right? So, this is interesting because it seemed to me like he was never going to apologise for Donorgate. I mean, he just kept receiving more and more. I don't know if you guys saw that interview with Beth Rigby, where Beth Rigby, in response to specifically the $20,000 for the GCSE accommodation for his son, which, you know, all of us thought was extremely hypocritical at the same time as the tax raid on private schools, his supposed attack on privileged kids. He just said, no, of course, every parent would do the same. Everyone can understand why I did that. And he just didn't seem to get it. But clearly now he has felt the pressure a little bit. And whether he genuinely feels sorry or whether his team around him are saying, listen, mate, you need to do something good because you are just plummeting in the polls. You need to show a bit of humility. But he seems to think that giving back $6,000 cost of gifts, so giving a bit of money back for these Taylor Swift tickets and whatnot, is going to do it and is going to bring back his approval ratings. It's now down at -30 apparently. I mean, I just don't see how he can come back from this. I mean, Alex, do you think this is too little, too late?
Yeah, the damage is done, isn't it? I mean, the reality is that sleazy Starmer, that phrase is here to stay. The guy, unfortunately, is deeply unpopular, has been unpopular for a while. I mean, it's not the first week that his polls didn't just start plummeting randomly. They actually have been plummeting down for weeks on end. And the -30 is just a new low for him. And I don't think it's going to get any better. Paying back is not going to change anything. He's still got £101,000 left to pay back. I mean, that's almost his entire year's salary gone. I don't know how him and Victoria Sponge will cope. Just living off of $100,000 between them. So no, I don't think it's going anywhere. Of course, we've had Lord Ali under investigation now, when the Lords Commission have started looking into him as well. That's his best mate, you know, Lord Ali bye-bye. Lord Ali buy whatever he wants, quite frankly. And, you know, they're in it together. So whatever happens to him is happening. That's what I was just going to get onto before we come to you, Eunice. So we've now got Lord Ali under investigation for not registering his interests. So he's a dodgy bloke now. So we've got to see, is Keir Starmer going to denounce him? Is Keir Starmer going to say, I never should have taken any of that money from him or any of those freebies? Or is he going to stay mates with him? I mean, we'll see what happens. But I mean, I feel like the damage is probably done and there is little that Starmer can do. And one thing that's definitely an interesting trend that you see if you look on the Spectator Data Hub, I mentioned this in one of my videos, they show you the approval ratings of a bunch of the past prime ministers, sort of starting at Blair, and it's very clear that once your approval ratings go low, they pretty much never recover, and once they get in that territory, you know, the herd starts moving to force you to resign. So it will be very interesting to see how long Starmer clings on. But I just want to show you a couple more things on this, sort of a lot of this courtesy of what Alex has been sharing on his feed, all these old videos of Starmer promising that he's going to crush cronyism. And, you know, this is just one of many, many videos that we have seen of Keir Starmer being on his moral high horse before getting into power, insisting, I'm going to crush cronyism. I hate those evil Tories. Just listen to this one, and then we'll look at one of Angela Rayner as well.
I was the Director of Public Prosecutions that prosecuted MPs for breach of the expenses rule. So I know how to take tough decisions. And if I get into power, I want to clean this up. I don't think it's acceptable to simply say...
Well, first of all, MPs have accepted donations and gifts for years.
She's like a meme.
All MPs do it.
Goes on, it's priced in, it's all right, fair dues. It isn't all right, it needs to be cleaned up, because millions of people out there do not want one rule for those in government and another rule for everybody else. That is not acceptable, and I would make it clear that if I were Prime Minister, I'd clean that up.
Okay.
I was the director.
Well, that hasn't aged well, has it? And as I said, that's just one of many videos that we've seen, old videos of Keir Starmer that have surfaced. You know, in the age of social media that we've got now, there's no hiding from the old videos that have been put out of you. He has said time and time again how much he hates cronyism, and he's going to be a changed. They're bringing change. They're going to bring back accountability and following the rules. And then this other one to show you is, Alex, you previously shared this video a while ago where we've got Angela Rayner dancing in the nightclub. And I don't know if you've seen, Adam Brooks has now just reshared it to say, actually, now this is part of Donorgate. Because this was a gifted night out. It was a free night out, presumably all the free booze that she wanted and whatnot, free access to all the VIP sections and all of this stuff, right? And sure, it's only 836 quid, right? But when this is a woman who has said time and time again, if you break the rules, you should resign, you're not fit for public office, over things like the breaking of lockdown rules in number 10, I feel like they need to be held to account. So let's just have a listen back at this one.
I mean, good on you, but I mean, I take my job really seriously and what I do, and I work, and I'm always in Parliament, and I'm always doing what needs to be done, and I'll continue to that. But I also believe, as a former trade unionist,
what time of the night was this? I mean, how did you keep? I would have been in bed by that time.
Oh, Fisher's a really, really great guy. I've known Fisher for a number of years, and I just think you've got to have downtime as well. Everybody has to have downtime, but I do take my job really seriously, and I like to talk about what I'm doing to help other people.
I'm not criticising you. I just wondered what you thought about the uproar.
At times, people like to look at that element, or yes, I'm working class, I like a dance, I like dance music. I got criticised for going to the opera, if you remember. I wasn't allowed to. I was
only working class people like to dance.
I mean, good on you, but...
Oh, she loves to just pull the working class card whenever she can to get herself out.
Yeah.
Oh, so pathetic.
She did with the whole housing scandal. She's like, oh, I couldn't possibly have known the rules about which house I need to register as my electoral address because I'm just a working class woman. I wouldn't possibly know. I mean, Eunice, do you think, as I was saying, we've seen Keir Starmer's approval ratings absolutely plummet, but Angela Rayner has been in the limelight in the Donorgate scandal pretty much almost as much as Keir Starmer. Do you think that we could potentially end up in a situation where both of them end up having to resign? Could we get to that point?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't think so. They will probably get away with it. And unfortunately, these people like Angela Rayner reminds me of a character from Sesame Street. I just can't take it seriously. Every time she talks, I just can't help but laugh, I'm like, and by the way, I actually know someone that knows her. And I met up with her 2 weeks ago. Is this woman, which I'm not going to reveal the name of, but she's quite big. She's the owner of BAFTA, and she actually knows who Angela Rayner is. And then she was like, she's as thick as they come. Like, I don't understand how this person is now the second most powerful person in the UK. And as you said, these people always pull out the working class, I'm working class. But it just shows you, I always said this, I'd rather have rich people running the country, because these working class, so-called working class people, when they get into power, they use politics to make money. Whereas if someone already has money before they get into politics, they get into it for the right reasons, such as Donald Trump, for example, such as Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage has enough money that he made in the past. He doesn't really need to get into politics to make money, whereas these people do, because you can't buy them. Keir Starmer, you give them a box in the Emirates, and they're very corruptible. That's what I'm trying to say. They're very corruptible. You can buy them a box, you can buy them, give them donor money, give them paid speeches, and they will pass legislation. And this is a bigger problem in America, because in America, obviously, we have no laws regarding campaign finances, and basically corporations can give billions and billions and billions to candidates or parties, such as the pharmaceutical industry, any industry, finance, oil and gas, whatever. And these senators and these politicians, when they get into power, they do exactly as they say. And we have a similar problem now with Labour. This is not called capitalism. This is called crony capitalism. Okay, and these are the biggest crony capitalists, biggest champagne socialists we've seen, and the fact that their approval ratings are so low, only after like a couple of months. I've never seen a government more unpopular than this government, only after 2 months. How can you have such low approval ratings? It's pathetic. And I've said this before, I don't really think this government will make it to 2029. I really don't think so. If we don't have a snap election in the next 2 years, I'll be amazed. Go ahead, Alex.
What I was going to say on the Angela Rayner situation. Now, she's of course deputy prime minister, so it's like you said, it's a really important job. But listen, for all my flaws, I did once briefly work for the Labour Party. I hate saying it because I regret it. But I was very young, all right? So I let myself off. I was, just hitting my 20s. So one of the great things about that is I still know a few people inside the Labour Party. Some of them are doing quite well in the party now in government. What I can tell you is this. Keir Starmer's team are absolutely terrified of Angela Rayner becoming Prime Minister. They are absolutely terrified of it because they know, and we all know, first of all, she'll win in a runoff on a grassroots vote in the Labour Party.
Grassroots, isn't she?
Very popular. She only Starmer only beat her by.
But do you think that she's still 10%. Popular after all the donorgate stuff? Do they still?
Yes,
like
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Within the Labour Party, I absolutely do. Yeah, I absolutely do believe that, and she would win probably by quite a big margin. So they are doing everything they can to stop that from happening because it's not like the Tories. They can't get round a vote by the grassroots. They have to have it. The Tories are quite smart. They've got their systems gamified. You can crown a winner. You can't do that in Labour. So they are terrified of her. She is sort of laughing because she thinks she's going to be the next Prime Minister is what I hear, but that's why you're not really hearing much from her. And the old Twitter Angela Rayner has disappeared and she's trying to make herself look more prime ministerial. But he hasn't got a contender at the moment. To trigger a Labour leadership election, there needs to be someone resign from government or Starmer has to resign. And he is not going to resign over this. Trust me, there is one big story that has been floating around on Twitter. I cannot say it, but lots of other commentators have been talking about it. If that story drops, he's finished. He's absolutely finished. His head will roll, and Rayner will walk in, and then it's down to reform stories.
Because I saw your tweet about that. I was like, oh, what is he talking about? I want to know.
Well,
you can message me sadly, privately, Alex. Tell me privately, yeah.
I will, but sadly, originally I was told the story might drop on Wednesday, which is today. It will be at the headline papers. Now, there's lots of reasons as to why that isn't happening. One of them is deals that have been done with the government around press inquiries and things like that. But there's lots of independent journalists who are doing some great work on this, and I'd say stay tuned. It's not going to go away. It will come out. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, I mean,
you're the one that could break it. You never know.
No. Absolutely not.
You can be anonymous, Alex. Come on, let's go. Give us the.
No chance.
I mean, just a couple of points on this. So, I mean, first of all, a lot of the time there's a big disconnect between what people in the Westminster bubble think is important and then what the wider public think. And generally speaking, when it comes to sleaze stories, the Westminster bubble often think it's way more important than it actually is. I think that one thing that was different was definitely Partygate, because that was about laws that were put into place which had a massive effect on people's everyday lives. So you have people that say, I wasn't allowed to go to my grandma or my mother's funeral, or we were able to go and only sort of 3 or 4 of us sit spaced apart. I wasn't able to see some other family member on their deathbed and say goodbye to them because the COVID rules wouldn't let me, right? A lot of people really, it has affected their lives, whereas most sleaze scandals haven't affected ordinary human beings,
but look,
right?
let me just say this about that though, because I think you're absolutely right, and this story is not important to me, and I don't care. It's about his private life. However, he has ran a platform of self-righteousness, of moral grandstanding, and so-called cleaning up politics, right? That is where the problem lies for Starmer. You cannot be the man you pretend to be to the public and say, I'm goody two-shoes, when actually you've got so many skeletons in your closet and you're up to your eyeballs in freebies and sleaze. That is what pisses people off. That is what upsets the British public. We hate hypocrites in this country, and that's what will destroy him, his own grandstanding.
Yeah, I think a key British value is fairness, right? I think that's one reason why so many people in this country, for example, are so angry about people coming here on boats and being able to jump the queue for housing and all of the rest of it, right? Because there's this sense of unfairness. We don't like jumping queues. We don't like unfairness. And when we see this lack of fairness around Keir Starmer, I think that's quite problematic. Now, as I was saying, most of the time the public are not too bothered by sleaze scandals. However, just like how Partygate frustrated people because they were deeply affected by COVID rules, it might be the case that because we've got cost of living crisis, a lot of people are really, really struggling, and they're thinking, I couldn't afford to buy new clothes for my kids last month, but Keir Starmer's got it all for free. That might really annoy them. And just the fact that this keeps on rumbling on, normally these things, they might come up for a week and then they'll disappear, but they can't seem to make this disappear because we seem to just be getting a new scandal every single day. So there's just keeps on rumbling on and on and on. So it'd be really interesting to see what happens and whether Keir Starmer lasts. Another thing to note is that with party leaders, if there's not a clear successor, sometimes they end up hanging on much longer. Theresa May was pretty much toast in 2017, but she was there until 2019 because there wasn't really a clear successor. So it might be the case that people look and they see Angela Rayner, Rachel Reeves, David Lammy, they're all pretty useless.
Reeves is really interesting, right? Because she is Keir Starmer's preferred successor. That is essentially the lineup, right? Okay. It's Rachel Reeves next. But her popularity ratings are also very, very low. And
there's
she
nobody that's particularly popular. And obviously,
but the fact that we're talking about Keir Starmer
she's
being
the one
replaced,
in charge of cutting winter fuel payments and whatnot. She's not going to be all that popular, right? And this is a woman who doesn't exactly give you an air of competency, given that she was found to have written her book by copy pasting from Wikipedia. I mean, nobody in the cabinet is really that qualified.
I mean, that's how thick she is.
Yeah.
She also just really one really funny thing. I'll pass it to Eunice. But what she also went over how she had her parliamentary card taken off her because she went overdrawn on it, I believe. So that's something for people to know. That's your chancellor, everybody.
Yeah.
Well done.
Right.
But the thing is, the one last thing I want to say is that every single person I look at in this cabinet just looks incompetent. Like David Lammy in a suit, he just looks uncomfortable in a suit. It's like as if a school kid, like a 5-year-old kid, you put in a suit and they're like almost don't know how to act in it. And this guy is like foreign secretary trying to represent us. And he's so dumb.
Want
he stopped
to know
selling arms to Israel.
what the conversation was like between him and Trump at the dinner that they had. I want to know, did they address the elephant in the room, right? Did they address the fact that David Lammy has called him a racist and a neo-Nazi sympathising sociopath, I think.
They're just dumb.
Quote.
They're just so dumb.
Did they address that
and the fact that we're speaking about replacing
Keir
Starmer, it's only been 2 months and we're already talking about the replacement for Keir Starmer. That just shows you how much of a failure this government has been. That we're already thinking about what the next steps are, who the next gay person is going to be. But they're all just as bad as each other. All of them. David Lammy, Angela Rayner. As a matter of fact, I would say Keir Starmer is the most intelligent one out of all of them.
Have you got what it takes to be a reasoned presenter? Well, send us a short clip of yourself to join@reasoned.uk and we might be seeing you on this very channel very soon indeed.